Church sitting.
We are starting our very first podcast, and we are trying to figure out what the right setting is. And this has a church option. So, here we go.
Are we churchy? That's amazing. I want to sound like that in all of my life.
I want, yeah. Oh, we have to change that. Oh, she just called.
How come I didn't?
I don't know. We have to change it to what? We change it to classroom?
I guess so.
Okay. Oh, did I miss? Wait. What happened? Video, audio? Right. I don't know. What happened?
Technical difficulty.
Is that what it said?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Ah. She just gave me some cheese and crackers. That's all in my taste.
It's delicious.
So what we're pointing to here is my phone. We have our phone right here. Trying to, best pod ever. Trying to get it to work so that we're like looking through this camera right here and looking at the phone. Oh, missed call. I'll call you back.
So weird.
All right, ringing. And then over here we have our questions. This other laptop.
We're gonna learn.
Learns us something. Hello, hello. Hi. Hey, hold on a second. We have to put you on speaker, maybe? Is that better? Hi. Hi, hi.
Hello.
How are you?
Very good. How are you today?
We're doing great. This is Jennifer.
Hi.
That's Jennifer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not Jennifer. That's Jennifer. I'm Francesco.
Hi, the voice you hear is Jack.
Hey, Jack. How are you?
Most excellent.
Great. So, thank you so much for allowing us to ask these questions. We have so many.
Yeah, no worries. It's, everyone has a lot of questions whenever you start this off. It's nervous, and the unknown always makes you wonder. But yeah, ask as many questions as you guys want, and we'll do our best to give you the honest information that a lot of times you won't get. So
Great. Thank you so much.
Yeah, we had a brief look through the questions this morning, and I think, we should be able to answer all of them.
Oh, great. So, how's the weather where you are? Are you in Australia?
Yeah, we are actually in Tasmania, in beautiful Tasmania, and Jack just made a fire. That's
Oh, that's right. I forgot. It's been bad there.
yeah, it's we haven't worn real shoes in like 4 years, so now we're having to wear socks and shoes. So that's kind of a trip for us.
Oh my God, I'm a Florida girl. I can appreciate that. I don't do shoes.
There you go. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Are you rescuing koalas? What's happening?
There's actually no fires in Tasmania. That's all on mainland Australia. But
Okay.
we have been out a lot of cool critters, and we actually have been able to play with penguins, wallabies, kangaroos.
wombats.
No way!
Oh, that's so great. I love it.
Oh, that's awesome. Oh, very cool.
So, Monique, where are you from?
I was born in Peru, in Lima, and then I grew up in Germany.
Oh,
My dad
wow.
is German, and my mom is Peruvian.
Oh, so wir können Deutsch sprechen.
Ja,
Mm.
sehr gerne.
Sehr gerne. Oh, wunderbar.
Super.
Yeah, super. So yeah, we have so many questions. I guess we should probably get right into them. The first question, is it okay we're recording this? I don't want to record it if it's not okay with you.
No worries at all. Feel free to record.
Great. I mean, one reason to record is just because I'm sure we're going to talk about a lot of stuff that I won't be able to write down while we're talking. And the other reason is, who knows? I don't know where this is going. We both don't know where this is going. Maybe it goes and we start doing podcasts and vlogs and all that fun stuff. I know there's a lot of people out there doing that right now, but I just don't want to miss the opportunity that this is like our first chance of talking to someone with your experience. So I figured I might as well try to capture it as best I could.
No, you're totally welcome to do that. We actually kind of recommend it. That's one of the things that I've done as we've done all of our sailing is I do my own memos, voice memos.
Oh,
and what I have found, I can go back back and listen to them and get information from like a year earlier. You can learn from them. And then also, just for memory's sake, you know, if nothing else, you can look back and go, oh, yeah, because you'll forget a lot of stuff. But then when you listen to it, it's like, oh, yeah, now I remember that.
Perfect. Great. Okay, thank you. Where are you from, Jack? I don't recognize the Texas. I don't recognize the accent.
I haven't lived in Texas in a very long time. I kind of consider Hawaii home now.
Cool. Yeah.
But yeah, I was born and raised.
Oh, great. Yeah. I'm originally from Ohio, but I live in South Carolina now. Jennifer's from Florida, but lives in South Carolina now. We're actually up in the mountains of Asheville, North Carolina. Well, near Asheville, North Carolina right now. We're just in a cabin for the weekend, just kind of doing some hiking and outdoorsy stuff.
Oh, cool. Wow. Yeah, so we're in similar climates right now.
That's right.
What island in Hawaii?
Yeah, North Carolina's actually pretty cool. I've done diving out of there, out of Cape Fear and stuff.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I saw a lot of your diving stuff. I wanted to get to those questions too. I wanted to get into that. Jennifer had a question.
No, what island on Hawaii were you at?
I lived Maui for about 6 years and Oahu for 2 years.
Very cool.
Cool.
I love Hawaii.
Oh man, I loved Maui. Spent about 14 days there and just went all around and just loved it.
Yeah. It gives you a lot of inspiration in life. That's what kind of pushed me.
It does.
Jennifer, you've been to Kauai a bunch of times,
right?
right?
That big island. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Cool. So let's go ahead. Let's get started. Just out of the joke of started off with some fun, I was asking what your favorite drink recipe was for sundowners.
Yeah, we are odd pirates because we don't really drink much alcohol. Jack, not at all. So, but we could always surprise our cruising friends with lychee on the rocks with a little bit of chia in them. So I say that would be our recommendation, and of course you can add a little bit of rum to it.
Of course, you have to have rum on board.
Seems like it would be bad luck not to.
Yeah. Our doing was also smoothies. I think Jack and I would sometimes just live from smoothies. So our blender was a very essential component in our cruising life.
Nice.
Oh, that's cool.
So a blender is an absolute necessity.
That was one of our big. You said something about surprises. That was one of the things that we found the most surprising. That we had a Ninja blender, and we use it all the time.
I just bought one of those actually. That's good. I'll keep that around.
That little thing is awesome. We actually bought 2 of them because I thought there's no way that thing will last 4 or 5 years. First one stayed good the whole time.
Oh, they're champs. I have had one for a long time.
So funny. So the next question was the true cost of cruising. We've heard all kinds of ranges of, and I understand that there's definitely, you can go crazy low budget and not do anything and really, basically live on $1,500, $2,000 a month or less. And then I've heard, the high budgets. And I'm just kind of wondering, I like to get as much experience from different people and ask different questions. I've been researching online as much as I can, but what has been your experience for the most part as far as a cruising budget?
All right, so one thing I would suggest for you, if you're not a member on Cruising Forum, you know Cruising Forum?
Yeah, I've seen it, yep.
So there's a bunch of articles like that on Cruising Forum so you can get more people. But for us, real world, we were able to do it less expensive than even I thought. So around $15K on the year and lower. We would typically do less than $1,000 a month.
Wow. That is amazing to hear.
Yeah, that's why I think it's because we are very minimalistic from our characters. So Jack would do all the repairs himself. And
that's the biggest thing on it. Where most people's bills will get really outrageous is the maintenance on the boat. If you hire anybody to do anything, it's going to be really expensive.
Yeah.
So we have found that if you do it yourself and mess it up, and then do it again and do it correctly, you're still ahead of the game financially and wisdom-based as far as hiring someone to do the work.
Perfect. That's great because I do like doing that kind of work myself. I'm very handy. I tend to do all the projects at the house, and to trust because the whole reason like labor cost and having somebody to come out is so expensive. So that's great to hear. But I could really adjust my budget then based on that information. Cool.
The other thing on a lot of cruisers, I read in the Cruising Forum, going out and eating, and then alcohol.
Yeah.
That's for a lot of people.
Right. Alcohol is probably pretty expensive. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, but it's part of it, you know. I would say more like we have met many cruisers who, as soon they are come to an island group, they go into the marinas, and it depends what you like. We were most of the time on anchor. I think it was maybe only 2 times or so that in over 4 years that we really went into marinas because we had to wash the boat or do maybe some repair work. But if you live on anchor, I think that saves you a lot of money.
That's a huge savings.
Oh, that's good to know. I think that was one of my questions later was how often did you have to haul, like how long could you leave the boat with not having to haul it out, or like how often did you haul it out?
On that one, it really depends on the boat. What kind of boat do you have? And then your bottom paint. Your bottom paint is what's going to pull you out of the water unless it's going to be a repair to a rudder or a mechanical or something like that, a through hull, which a lot of that stuff you can do in water if you really have the skill base. So nothing pulls you out of the water except for damage or the hull. You just get tired of scraping the hull so much.
Gotcha.
We only come out of the water once, or actually twice, in 4 years.
Oh,
With
wow.
Aloha.
Oh, wow.
And to give you information, we had experience sailing before Aloha. So Aloha went in the water February of 2016, and before then, Monique had already spent about 3 to 4 years cruising on different boats, and then I'm actually a captain, so that's what I do for a living.
Oh, great. Gotcha. Understood. That leads us kind of into a good question. You mentioned, it depends on what boat you have. If you were to do this again, I'm assuming that you would choose your same boat because you have a tendency to fall in love with your own boat. But are there 2 other boats maybe that you might think about that would be good recommendations that are maybe reliable boats, boats that have that are good performers or good boats for living on? Just I guess if you could do it again, what 3 boats would you maybe consider choosing?
Okay, so I'll put this in 2 different ways. The piece of wisdom that I got in the beginning that was really valuable: don't buy the biggest boat you can afford. Buy the smallest boat you can be comfortable on.
Oh, nice.
That's a really good one. Nobody really sticks to it, but they should. Yeah, because you buy that bigger boat that you think you can afford. It's right on the edge of your budget, but what's going to happen is the maintenance costs on that larger boat are going to get you in the long run, and it'll make the trip not as much fun.
Or shorter.
Yeah, it'll shorten your cruising life. The boat you can be the most comfortable on, the smallest one you can be the most comfortable on. Now, I'll lead into your next one. Me personally, and it's going to negate what I just said. It's the Ultramare. So around the 45 Ultramare, or a Katana, or something like an Atlantic, something like that.
So he's saying he wants to go bigger.
For sure. So your boat was it 41, 42?
40.
Yeah.
12 meters, 40 feet.
Okay.
Yeah. This was great. I think the only thing we would change would be the bridge deck.
Bridge deck clearance. Yep.
That was actually something I've been researching lately. I'm really trying to find a high bridge deck clearance, and it's really hard to find that anywhere. Like, people do not want to, say what the bridge deck clearance is. It's hard to find anybody to actually put some numbers on it. And I get why, because, if you load up a boat with a lot of stuff and so many different options, you can totally get, different bridge deck clearances. I've heard Katanas are probably, in the better range for that. But do you know of other ones that are good with that?
Yes, the Katana is good, but on that bridge deck clearance, loading the boat won't make that much of a difference. From a boat being really, let's say a production-built catamaran, from it being dry to being totally loaded, you're only going to change about 3 inches of boat.
Oh, wow.
You should only be dropping the boat by about 3 inches, unless you're doing something. And if it's more than that, then you're severely loading the boat to where it's not going to perform the way it should. That's the negative of the catamaran. It's got tons of storage, but the more stuff you put in it, you slow it down. So we had the rule on the boat: if it's not lightweight, it's not going. And if you're putting something on the boat, you're taking something off the boat.
Gotcha. Okay.
In the if I don't know if you plan on going monohull or catamaran. That's the big difference in monohull catamaran. If you're in a monohull, it doesn't matter. Put a bunch of stuff in there. It's not going to really change it that much. But yes, on the catamaran, it makes a difference.
Yeah.
The weight will make a difference.
But saying that, we had much, much more stuff than any monohull review. We were so surprised how many things we had. Once we prepared the boat for sale, and it was amazing how much storage you have.
Oh, okay.
So that's us, I think, not just a minus.
Yeah.
Okay.
To answer your the Outremer, they are doing really good with their bridge deck clearance right now. Those boats are, it's a really nice boat. We've been on a couple of them, and I'm sure you've seen Le Vagabond. They've talked about it.
Yeah, I don't think that we have the budget to pull down a Outremer. They seem to be very expensive boats, so we're probably going to be looking at, a 10-year-old boat, and I hope that. Or do you think that the 10-year-old Outramers are also in that range?
Yeah. They've been building boats for a long time.
Sure.
The company, but it's now really gotten super popular.
Yeah.
But they've been building boats for a long time. So in your category right now, Katana, for a 10-year-old boat, Katana or the Outremer would probably be some of your better ones.
Would you say privilege? I mean, I really enjoyed our privilege. I know you think they're a bit heavy built, but that also helped us many times.
Yeah, that's the difference, and you kind of have to make the call. Do you want a fast boat, or do you want a super stable boat? Our boat was not very fast. You can read all the specs on it, and everybody agrees. But it was like a tank. A lot of the faster catamarans, they'll flex in the water. Like if you're on port stern, you can watch your starboard bow going over a wave. The boat will twist and flex a little bit. The doesn't at all.
Not at all.
It was super stable, but it wasn't really fast. So it's the trade-off on a lot of this stuff.
Right. Okay, great. Thank you. Yeah, I think I like the Privilege. I like the Katana. I like the Outremer. I like all of them, honestly. I like the Lagoons. How do you feel about the Lagoons and the Fontaines?
Fontaine Plajants, I'm not the biggest fan of either one of those, to be honest with you.
Yeah?
They're production built, fast production built, so they build a lot of them. And we've seen several of them out there. They make it, they do okay, but they don't hold up as well, you know.
Wow.
You know how long you want to have it and stuff like that. We had many friends with lagoons. I think it's price to, how do you say?
Price to enjoyment ratio works out well.
So the quality is probably okay. They're fast-ish. But it's not from in the catamaran cruising community. I don't think that people like them that much.
Oh, wow. That's really good information because I was leaning so heavily towards those. Thank you for that. That's great advice.
Yeah.
Appreciate that.
I mean, we see a lot of the 42 lagoons out, the 38s, because they've made so many of them. And that
they're affordable. That's what it is.
Yeah, I'll tell you another really good piece of wisdom. So I worked on a mega yacht. And we anchored in a bay near Baja. And we're on an 80-foot mega yacht. And there's a bunch of regular cruising boats all out in front of us. And the owner of the mega yacht comes up to me, and everybody was on their bows watching this phenomenal sunset. And she put it really well. She said, "You know what? All of those people in their little boats out there, they get to enjoy this sunset just as much as we are, but they don't have near the bills."
Amen.
That's a great quote.
So keep that in mind. Just because we say, the lagoon, I'm not the biggest fan of it, it doesn't mean that you don't get to see that phenomenal sunset or catch that amazing fish off of it. It's the experience that you get.
Yeah. And what you're looking for: fast, comfortable, stability,
Right.
just roomy. Yeah. You just have to find out what's important for you.
Right. Go ahead. You have a question? Your question was...
So my questions are way less specs. I think you should continue
Oh,
on the
okay.
specs. We'll come to mine. Mine's more like cerebral and mental and all that.
So I was going to ask about...
That's the important part of it.
He's the details person if you haven't figured that out already. I'm more about how do I get a workout in? How do I not go crazy on an ocean passing? Those kind of things.
Those are important.
So I was going to ask about heavy weather sailing and catamaran, because we're definitely going to go catamaran. We like the roominess, and we like the, I like the idea of the entertaining up and everything, and everybody being able to enjoy each other on the deck. And but anyway, yeah. From as far as the catamaran goes, like I see all these things about how to sail in heavy weather with the monohull. But did you experience much heavy weather sailing? How did you handle it? Was it did the boat handle well? What was your technique? That kind of thing.
Okay, so I'm going to simplify this and make it really easy for you. Don't go. Stay in your protected anchorage until there's a really good weather window, and don't ever buy an airline ticket until you're where the plane leaves from.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay. That gives you the ability to not have to go. So we were really lucky in 4 years going from Florida to Australia. We never had any heavy weather on the boat. The max wind we experienced the whole time was actually 45 knots for about 30 minutes, and that was on a passage in Maui, and we knew it was going to be that way.
Wow. That's amazing.
And then,
yeah, it was actually from Maui to Molokai.
Molokai. We were kind of having fun.
Yeah, we were having fun.
Off the coast of Nicaragua, we had some stormy weather, but max wind was 35 knots, and it was for about 4 hours.
Like a trough.
The trough come over us. So that put us in a little bit of a unique position. But as far as like truly heavy weather, we didn't have any at all.
Gotcha.
We were prepared for it. And as far as to answer your question, I'm a big fan of sea anchors. So we had Paratech, 22-foot Paratech, and a 12-foot Paratech sea anchor with all the road that you would need for it. So it was a total of about 400 feet of 7/8 nylon, some twisted, braided.
Gotcha. Right on. Okay.
Ever used either one of them? Well, actually, we would use the 12 some of the time. To slow us down if we got to a island during the night, we would throw it out, and then we would sleep on the anchor, and then the next morning wake up and come in. We're both really big believers in not going into an anchorage at night.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Definitely. Good advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
So what?
It's about the weather windows. It really is. We see so many people screw up, and one of the jokes that me and Monique have in between is bad sailors write great books.
That's amazing. I'm listening to a lot of books right now.
I hope we don't offend anybody with this, but yeah, Jack says this all the time, and we have also done deliveries, and Jack tells me about those fairy tales or advices from these old crusty sailors, and they always say, if it's boring, then it's good.
Yeah, nice.
I love it.
So what did you use for really accurate weather window predicting? Did you use particular software, websites, or communications devices? How did you know that you had a good window?
Okay, so I'll do this kind of in two parts. You're in the U.S. right now, and I was the same. And you get promoted so much stuff that you really don't need.
Yeah.
They try to sell you so much stuff, and that keeps so many people from ever getting to live the dream. So in my professional lives, I've used weather routers before on the big yachts, and personally, I don't like them very much. I haven't been that happy with their services. Nothing against them personally.
Sure.
It just doesn't feel as tactile to me. I like to be able to feel what's going on. So what we have used is Windy. We have used that since it was created, and we love it. You can use the GSF model or the EWCM on it. Either one, depending where you're at in the world, which one will work better. So that's where we got all of our weather information, and then we would back it up with some other things some of the time if it didn't seem quite right. And then as far as to get that information, we had the DeLorme in reach. So like Monique was saying, we're minimalistic, so we try to keep our costs as low as possible. So we were paying like $24, $25 a month for our communication. And whenever we're in islands, we get a SIM card, and we can get all that information off the SIM cards. and that's relatively cheap, depending on where you're at in the world. On ocean, the DeLorme would give us some weather reports, but not really detailed. So I had either my father or a good sailing friend, and we would send them a text. They would tell us what's going on, and then we would adjust with that.
Oh, that's a brilliant idea. Yeah, of course.
I love it. I love these little sneaky ways. Yes. You're
Yes.
right about that. They do try to sell you everything, get you sold on all the little stuff you have no idea. You feel like you're going to die without it.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly. And it really that way, and they make you feel like, oh no, you can't sail the world without having this product and this product. And you really don't need hardly any of it. You got to keep in mind, one of the things that you can kind of reassure yourself with, people were doing this 50, 60, 70 years ago without any of this stuff now.
Any
And it's
technology.
so much easier now.
Yeah, it's so much. Yeah, and I think I would like to add that the cruising community is very helpful also. So you have like SSB and communication where if you're doing a bigger passage, for example, when we did the big hop from Panama to French Polynesia, so we would all talk. I think it was daily, Jack? Once a day on SSB, and just everybody would just tell the weather situation from where they are, and also their strategy, how they're going to proceed for the next day. And they would also talk about emergencies or help situations if they need it. So I think that's very helpful. Or even if you're in an anchorage and just going for a 1 or a 2-day overnight sail, you often go with other people, so you're more safe. And so you can compare your information about the weather.
Of course. Great advice. Thank you.
When he brought that up, it's a great point. The cruising community is awesome, especially when it comes to weather.
Yeah, you always normally talk, hey, when are you going, and how does the weather look? Because windy is great. Jack loves windy. Jack is also really good in picking a weather window. I think my advice would be maybe to do like a little workshop on weather, because that's really one of the most important things to stay safe. To pick the right weather window, I think.
Gotcha.
And we would talk with the other cruisers and just ask, and they would just often come back to Jack and ask him, well, hey, what do you think? Because we were all lucky. We were always, it was boring, or I did some yoga during the passage, and they're like, what?
That's awesome.
And they're like, right?
Yeah, for sure.
That's great. So you mentioned safety in numbers. That brings us to the next point about piracy and pirates. Did you ever come across any scary situations with pirates?
That is our most common question, and my answer is don't worry about pirates, worry about mosquitoes.
That's
they
our
are
other
the pirates.
question. Yeah. We actually just dropped that question in about a half hour ago. I said to Jennifer, how do they not get malaria? How do they not get, eaten up by mosquitoes?
Yeah, we actually, we worry about mosquitoes a decent amount. So on our boat, we had screens on everything, and we built some screens through the doors, the big passage doors. We put magnetic screens on those, and then
Mosquito spray.
obviously mosquito spray, the coils, the burn coils. We'd have those on the boat as well, and then just dress appropriately. A lot of times you want to run around in just a pair of sports shorts, but some lightweight clothing is essential. When you're going on a hike, some long stuff. So yeah, just the standard things you would do for mosquitoes. Neither one of us ever got any. We've been super lucky. No medicals at all on either one of us the whole time.
Oh wow,
but
awesome.
Never to get any vaccinations or anything as well. But to answer your question on the piracy, when we were in Nicaragua, Roatan area, and Belize, it was a little sketch there. We were there in 2016, and in Belize, they had an incident right when we got to Belize. We almost skipped Belize.
Jack was very, very worried, and I kind of convinced him to do it anyways, because we had some friends on board.
Yeah.
And then we went for it, but we stayed off the main.
Yeah. And our relation quite different than most, because most of the time the guy is the one that's like, yeah, sure, let's do this. And I've been raised in the U.S., so that's part of it. But then also, I'm professional. I've been in this industry for a long time, so I know all the things that can happen. And Monique is just, hey, let's go have fun. So ours is kind of backwards on that. But yes, Belize, they had an incident there, but we actually had some friends come and stay with us. It was actually a little bit of a charter. Which one of the ways that we made side money is we'd have people come and stay with us. But it's like friends of friends and stuff like that.
Oh, that's a great idea. Friends of friends, not just friends.
We just stayed offshore in the outer islands and things.
And then we had this false alarm in Nicaragua, it was, I think. Remember that you thought it was hazy, and then there was this light coming closer, and we had to find some shelter behind a little tiny island, and we thought, oh my gosh, those are the pirates. This time they got us.
Yeah, it was actually because I said we had that little bit of a storm, and it put us in a situation earlier. So the weather was just really, really nasty, and both of us had gotten tired. So we were like, you know what, we're going to tuck in right here, and we're just going to spend the night, and we'll get some rest, and then it'll be okay. And it's a little group of islands, the Mosquito Islands off the coast of Nicaragua, and the sun's starting to come down and everything, and we're coming into this pass, and the visibility wasn't very good. I could see a gray ship on the island already, and it was, it wasn't a full ship. It was probably 60 feet long, and I was like, oh, that does not look good at all. And luckily, Monique speaks Spanish, so the radio starts going off. She goes into here, and it was the Nicaraguan military giving us instructions on how to come through the pass. We're like, oh, sweet.
Oh, nice.
What a relief. Oh, my gosh.
We felt very safe then.
Yeah.
So,
but no, we haven't had anything stolen off the boat. We haven't had any incidences. And as far as we know, we haven't had anybody on board except for that one kid that time.
Yeah.
But that's his boat sank, and he was looking for someplace to stay.
It's a story for another time. Yeah, and also anybody else that we know has had any problems with pirates or.
No,
right?
That's really good to know. That puts us at ease. I was a little worried with some of the stuff I was seeing and hearing. That's really good to know. Did you have anything on board to protect against pirates? I had heard some people would carry like bear mace because you really can't carry like firearms or anything like that. Did you have any kind of protection?
Well, I'm from Texas.
Yeah,
of course.
God bless Texas.
I'm laughing.
As far as since we've owned the boat, we've never had a firearm on the boat. And the thing on the firearms, the guns, is you're breaking the laws of international countries. Mm-hmm. And if you use that firearm, or even if you get caught with that firearm, you're going to go to prison in a third world country. Yeah. And that's worse than anything that can really happen as far as you getting robbed. So we've never had firearms, but we did have some sprays and stuff.
Yeah.
Just something to give you the upper hand should you need it.
Something to stop and slow them down.
Motion lights.
Motion lights,
those were helpful. Oh. So if somebody come too close to the boat or on the sugar scoop, the light would come on.
Yeah, that's good.
Not that we really needed it, but maybe when the boat was just sitting there alone, I think then it was probably helpful. Saying that, we talk about pirates, but very often it was not pirates, but what we heard was like stolen dinghies. That's more. That's more often.
Wow,
right?
Interesting.
Never leave your dinghy in the water for two parts. Someone will steal it, and it'll also start growing stuff on the bottom of it. So pick it up every night.
Oh, okay. Good advice. Thank you. Could you lock it down with something probably, huh?
Yeah, no, take them out of the water. The third part is if a storm comes up during the night, your dinghy's in the water, especially on a catamaran, that dinghy ends up in between the hulls, beating everything up. So pull your dinghy every night.
Mm-hmm.
Great advice. Thank you. That's brilliant. The next question was about exercising, and this is pretty much,
Yeah, just what did you guys, were you always able to find time to get on land, or not go too long without time on land, or did you figure out fun little ways to just keep yourselves fit and active on the boat?
I think actually that's a really great question, because I think we both would say that we were more active on living on the boat, because we finally could find the time to do all those exercises, that we maybe living living on land, we were always too busy because there are so many distractions, or you're just going to work and all that. So living on the boat was made us more active because Jack would go spearfishing, we did free diving, I would go running whenever we can. We had like 2 kayaks each, so we could do independent things, and I also had a paddleboard.
Yes.
And so I think the kayaks and the paddleboard helped because you could go with everywhere, but we would do a lot of things with kayaks. We considered our kayaks like our bicycles, where he was a car.
I love it. I love your definition. See, when you said minimalist, I'm like, gosh, what are they doing? So the fact that you found those to be necessities makes me very happy that you can consider yourself minimalist and have those things, because those feel like necessities to me.
And so we did have the dinghy, but we would use whenever we can always the kayaks just to get the exercise in, and also then you the fuel costs you minimize, but also it's so you can keep your dinghy safe. Sometimes some coastlines are not as safe to go in with a dinghy, so we would do a lot with kayaks, or I would do a lot of paddleboard. Then I would have different offline apps for yoga or different kinds of workouts that I like using, and that's why catamaran is a big plus, because you have space, and especially on our privilege, we had like a very big cockpit, and it was actually, I could put even 2 yoga mats in the cockpit area, and could even invite friends over for a little yoga session.
Oh, fun.
So that's really awesome. I think you would have more of a problem on a monohull. I'm not saying it's not possible. You can find some space on the deck, but then you maybe don't have some shady side. I think exercises, you're more outside. You also, the boat is more like to go home and hang out during the mornings and go home at night, but the cruising life is mostly outside. It's a very outdoorsy. I guess we are very outdoorsy, so we would go a lot for hiking and spend a lot of time in the water, diving, free diving, spearfishing, and other things.
I love it.
Yeah, we're all about that. You should see the smiles on our faces right now when you say that, because we're all about wanting to be outside as much as possible.
It's so fun. Most of the time you anchor somewhere where you can go on land anyways. So the only time that you're not gonna get maybe much off-boat time is when you do a passage. But that also depends on you, how long of a passage you want to do, how long do you want to stay along the coast. I don't know, what are your plans? Are you trying to do a circumnavigation, or are you gonna stay in the Caribbean?
So what we've been trying to figure out is the best thing to do, and we've been kicking around different ideas. I'm kind of on, and I've gone back and forth a bunch of times. Right now, I'm on the idea that I think I could probably buy a boat in the Mediterranean, and that might be a good option for like starting off slower. Like maybe we sail the Mediterranean for a summer to get our feel for it, and then we go back to work for a little bit, and then we come back and we take the boat from the Mediterranean down to the Canaries and Cape Verde, and then across to the Caribbean, and then we do a season in the Caribbean, and then we go further. The next season we would go, to Panama, through Panama, and then to the South Pacific is the ultimate goal. So we do want to do, somewhat of a circumnavigation. We don't know what to do after that. We kind of see different things about, once you get to Thailand or Maldives or Seychelles, you kind of want to, it's kind of dangerous in the Indian Ocean. You want to maybe either ship your boat or sell it or something like that. So, but I've seen so many great deals on boats in the South Pacific that I'm like, wow, I mean, it'd be great to get a boat there. And, there's so much to sail there. You could spend years just there, it seems like. So I go back and forth with it, really.
Totally, yeah. For us, I think the South Pacific was by far the best, our highlight.
That's my bucket list.
Yeah, if we want to get there, we definitely have to get there, that's for sure.
We both haven't done the Mediterranean yet. I did it a little bit, but not enough to say much about it. But what we heard, and I don't know, please correct me, Jack, here, but I think that we heard that the Mediterranean is a little bit tough on the sailing side. It's also more expensive.
Okay.
But because of the weather, I think the weather changes a lot.
Mhm.
I just want to throw that in so that you so you have feedback. So if we would, but saying that, we would thinking to buy, if we buy another boat, to buy it in the South Pacific again, because we just thought that was so beautiful, or in the Mediterranean, because the prices for boats, there are really good deals there.
Mhm.
The Mediterranean. Right?
Yeah, right. We were talking about staying fit, and we noticed that you did in your pictures. We noticed you did a bunch of scuba. We saw some. Do you have like your own compressor on the boat to be able to fill your own tanks?
Originally, when we were setting the boat up, I really wanted a compressor, but I'm a captain and a scuba instructor, so I've done diving since '99 professionally. So I'm kind of scubaed out, to be perfectly honest with you. So we really focused on our free diving, and we can both, well, not right at this moment, but when we were on the boat, we could free dive deeper than most people could scuba.
Wow.
So we just did the free diving a lot, unless we were going someplace where, like a shark dive or something like that, where we really wanted to do it. On the catamaran, your weight is an issue. So whenever you start putting tanks and a compressor on board, it kind of adds up.
Okay. Yeah, I saw.
Yeah, so what we just rented the scuba gear. I mean, we had the essentials, but the tank we rented.
Yeah, just rent tanks.
Just rented tanks, so you don't have to maintain them or carry them around.
Yeah.
And that was never a problem. Jack is a scuba instructor, so maybe that made it a bit easier. But I think in most countries they don't have any problem with it.
Yeah, but if you want to dive, I would. If you're into the diving really big, I would totally do it. It's totally worth it.
Mm-hmm.
Put the compressor on board, put some tanks, and enjoy it, because you're going to be able to experience some places that literally no one has ever done. So it's really cool.
That's great. Yeah. I saw the shark dives you did on Instagram, I think, or somewhere. That was really amazing and terrifying at the same time, even from here.
That was probably our best or most fun dive.
I'll bet.
Yeah, the big tiger was really cool.
Yeah. So where have been some of your favorite places? Like, what are your top 5 most places that you'd recommend we absolutely do not miss no matter what?
I would say for me in the Caribbean, it was San Blas. That's close to Panama, in between Panama and Colombia. San Blas is a beautiful area for sailing, and it's just, I don't know, it's like an island group with over 370 little islands, really beautiful, safe anchorages, and people love it there. Their cruises, they stay all year long there. I mean, they just haul out in the winter season and come back for the next year. That was where I kind of started cruising. And Jack, you really loved it there too, huh?
Yeah, San Blas is really good. To be in the Caribbean, San Blas is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if it has changed much, but it's not too crowded. Yeah. You can still find like islands where you're just by yourself, and that's the kind of stuff we like.
Yes.
And
yes.
then, sorry?
No, we're just agreeing. We like that as well.
Yeah, we agree 100% with that. That sounds fantastic.
And then in the South Pacific, nearly everything.
Yes! You're making my case for me. Thank you.
But what we really, really loved, because it was just so different, was Marquesas and the Tuamotus in French Polynesia. Of course, Bora Bora in Tahiti.
Yes.
Not Tahiti, Bora Bora and Moorea was amazing too. But if you something where nobody is, where you just have your boat, and it seems like the whole island is yours. And it really goes back in time with the locals and all that. And the tikis was Marquesas, I think. Especially the island Fatuhiva was just so beautiful. And then our big highlight and most favorite, I think, in the South Pacific is Fiji. Fiji was super inexpensive. We spent like over 7 months there. And the people are just so beautiful. I mean, like, very generous and so happy. I mean, they're laughing and singing all day long. And we learned a lot there, I think, as well, just about life. And
how to live our lives in the future.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Wow.
that she left out was the Bahamas. The Bahamas were really cool. I got to experience them. She did. Monique didn't. I really like the Bahamas, but it doesn't compare to the South Pacific at all. The Caribbean, I mean, it's two totally different places. Whenever you go into the South Pacific, we felt, and I would just totally recommend it, you're really doing something. Everybody bumps around the Caribbean. That's pretty easy. But when you're going into the South Pacific, you're really exploring. You're seeing things, that a lot of times we would go to islands and the kids would be on the beach playing and they would see us approaching and they would literally freak out and go running to their parents. And they call us Palangi there. And the little kids would go running up to the parents, Palangis. And the kids would have permission to play with us. And then they would run back down and we'd have like a trade session with them and give them candy and crayons. And they would just be so stoked.
That is so special and wonderful. Wow, how beautiful.
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, if you want to cruise, in my opinion, from what we've experienced so far, the South Pacific, buy the boat in the Caribbean, bump around there for a little bit, learn the boat and everything, and then go into the South Pacific.
Or buy it directly in the South Pacific.
Or buy it there, if you want.
Well, I was going to ask that my next question. With us not having a whole lot of sailing experience, would it be recommended that we go ahead and just take that leap in buying a boat in the South Pacific, or should we bounce around the Caribbean, like you said, and kind of learn the boat and learn everything before we go that way?
Go ahead, Shad. So what do you think?
No, I think you have the better answer here with your experience.
What I tell people all the time is the best way to learn is do it on someone else's boat. So if you can do some charters working with someone else, like the crew bay or something like that, be around some other captains. Mm-hmm. And what that actually does is it teaches you what not to do a lot of the time, And then those mistakes can be made on someone else's boat. So anytime you can spend some time on someone else's boat, it's priceless. Yeah. Because you see how that boat performs, so you can learn the boat itself, and then you can see how that captain and crew performs, and you can learn from that. So then after that, you can go on.
Yeah. And it doesn't have to be charters. The way how Jack and I also learned it. Well, in Jack it was more on a professional side, but on my side it was also just crewing. There's crew bay or crew listing. It's just couples or just single-handers asking for a crew. Maybe you share costs, maybe you get paid, or maybe it's for free, and then you really can gain sailing miles experience, and it gives you also an opportunity to see how that boat performs that you maybe later want to buy or not.
That's brilliant. Yeah, that's a great idea. Great advice. Thank you. Mm-hmm.
To answer your question bluntly and directly, you can learn how to sail the boat that you buy in the Caribbean just as easily as you can do it in Fiji. There's no difference between that. Minus if you have to do repairs on the boat, bringing things into Fiji may be a little bit more expensive, but not that much more expensive. Florida is actually, in my opinion, the best place to fit a boat out because you get everything and you can get it inexpensively.
Yeah, but there it also depends in what of a state do you buy the boat. If it's a very well-built cruising boat who's fits, very well, then you don't have to worry about maintenance for a while.
Monique brings up a great point there, and it's a common trap that a lot of first-time fall into, and it's buying the project boat. And you said Francesco, sorry. And I appreciate that because I am as well. But don't rely on that too much because you're not buying this boat to work on this boat. You're buying this boat to go have experiences. So if you can find a boat that's ready to go, do it. Instead of a boat that has some projects, because even in ours, when I originally bought it in 2013, I thought I had about 6 months worth of stuff to do on the boat. I ended up having 2 years stuff to do. But it wasn't because I found a bunch of new stuff. It was just that the things took longer and I ran out of money a couple times in the process. So I had to work on it for 4 months, and then I went to work for 6 or 7, and I did that twice.
Is it okay if I something maybe, because I think there's also an error that many people do is that they don't feel ready. So Jack was in that
over outfitted.
Yeah, was in that category that he over outfitted it. He he wanted to have it perfect. Where I, on the other side, or maybe later, other people, cruisers will also tell you, it's like, just go ahead, start cruising. Maybe just, for example, start in a bay, or don't go far, but just go ahead and start going, and maybe do some projects on the way.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes people buy boats, and then, it takes them very long because they just want to have it perfect, and then they don't leave. And so that goes by your money, your budget. You have to work on the budget again, and so on and so on. And I think we have met so many cruisers out there who were newbies or didn't know not even newbies, they didn't know anything. They just learned sailing. And or cruisers, they have been sailing for a very long time, but they are just very, very minimalistic and simplified everything. They didn't any technology on the boat. Some says they didn't even have a motor or water maker, or what we would maybe think would be an essential. They didn't have any of it.
Huh. Yeah, the water maker I thought would be an absolute necessity.
Yeah, many people don't have fridges. They are the luxury things that you don't need maybe, but it's all what
makes your life more comfortable.
Yeah, more comfortable and whatnot. Maybe we think we're minimalistics, but we actually had it very.
Could.
Yeah.
It's all relative, right?
Some of our friends who didn't have fridge, no water maker, no solar panels.
I would say the majority of the boats, like real cruisers in the South, especially in the South Pacific, no refrigeration, no water maker.
Wow, that's interesting.
We were really lucky. We had a refrigerator and a huge freezer and a water maker. Our water maker, though, it was only a 7-gallon per hour, so it was the Little Wonder, Village Marine Little Wonder. And the only thing we used the water maker for the most part, was just drinking water. We didn't use it for our shower water, and we're actually we call it a water boat. We use about 5 gallons of water a day, but we had really nice rain catch, and we could hold about 150 gallons of fresh water. And when it rained, we would fill all the tanks up, and then we typically would have to use the water maker for shower water.
Oh, wow. Okay. I didn't think about rain catch. That's brilliant. Do the catamarans usually come with that? Is that a standard thing?
No. Very few.
Depends if you buy it used.
Yeah, you're going to buy a used boat. Yeah, someone's going to have some rain catch on it. They should.
But yeah, that's very important, I think, the water catch. Yeah. That's how most of the people gain their water. Because, as mentioned, not everybody has a water maker. What they do is like they go in a marina and tank water and get water, or they just run back and forth. That's what also many people do. With their tanks on the dinghy and fill those up with water and fill it then in their tanks on the boat.
That's good to know that if a water maker goes out, you're not helpless. Yeah, that's good information.
Yeah.
Well, as much as I think we could keep you guys on the phone for hours and hours, I think we could wrap it up with just what was the one thing that caught you the most by surprise, like you just weren't expecting when you embarked on this life?
I don't know.
You're first.
No, I think you had already something in mind. You go.
So because I read your questions earlier, so I was prepping. I had already done it a lot, on professional set. I didn't have a lot of surprises except for maintenance of the boat, and then the other one, it's depending on the boat you get, it'll have more or less maintenance, and it becomes a little bit of a thing that you just have to stay on top of, but it's just part of it. The one that was the biggest surprise to me, and it's one of the biggest challenges for most couples doing this, is relationship maintenance. And you don't hear a lot about it in the blogs and stuff like that. But it's a challenging situation for a couple. It really is. So that's one of the things, on some of your off time, that's, have like a relationship day.
I don't think it's just a couple. I think it's in general for the crew, people who live on a boat, because it's smaller and you spending all your time together. So you really have to look that you do things apart, or that you have like your hobbies where everybody gets some me time.
Correct.
Right?
Yeah.
That makes a ton of sense. Yeah,
for sure.
It's tight quarters.
Yeah, with that, that's why we had, for example, 2 kayaks. So one of us could take the dinghy or the kayak, or each takes their kayak, and just do different things. Also rely on the cruising community. The women do something together, and the men go out and go, I don't know,
Shoot fish most of the time.
Makes sense.
like that. So there are many options, but I think that's a point where to think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I like that. Thank you.
I wanted to add, or I made a note about it, but I already mentioned it. What surprised us was that we may, how would I say that right? You know, we felt like we were very well prepared, where we found so many other cruisers who had it. It gives, there are like the two extremes, and I think we were in the middle, you know, where there's super minimalism, and then there are the other people who are all the time in the marina, have air condition all day on, have the TV, satellite, and everything going on. And other people where they didn't have any technology on board, they had a wood boat, no refrigeration, no electricity, or I don't know, like very, very minimalistic.
Right.
And us in that case that we thought we were, we were maybe overly prepared. Like we could have gone earlier, I think, and get some things done later.
Just go.
Or maybe we didn't need it, you know. Jack thought a long time about ARS and all those other techie things who later you didn't need that much.
Can I just ask, Jack, what you were saying about maintenance? Are you talking about like scheduled maintenance, or are you talking about things that just popped up along the way when you're saying maintenance?
Definitely pop-ups.
Pop-ups, okay.
Yeah. We were really lucky that we had no major breakages, but if you're going to buy a 10-year-old boat, you're going to be working on it on a fairly regular basis, things that just pop up, you know, from engine maintenance, sail, running rigging, pumps, you know, money, you know, you're always going to have little things that, why isn't the toilet working correctly, you know, things like that.
Yeah, gotcha.
Is there a sweet spot between like 10-year-old to 5-year-old boats?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Is there a sweet spot between, you know, if a boat's too old that it's too much maintenance versus you don't want to buy like a brand new boat maybe because there's always like that first year shakeout that's always something's going wrong?
Correct, yeah. I've actually commissioned a couple of boats, you know, as a professional, and I would not do that in my personal life. I let someone else go through that first 2-year headache. Between 5 and 10 years, I really don't think there would be that much, but between 10 and 20 years, yes, there will be a significant difference. But it really depends on who owned the boat before you, you know, and what they were doing with the boat. Try to find a boat that hasn't had very many owners, you know, 2, maybe 3, and the person that you buy it for, whenever you buy that boat from them, they should be crying.
So you cried when you sold your boat, didn't you?
We were when we sold ours.
Aww.
Yeah.
Letting go of a baby.
And I'm sure you've heard it before, but it is true. The boat will talk to you. You'll get on a boat and you're like, this just doesn't feel right. We stepped on a bunch of them before buying Aloha. They were like, this just doesn't feel right. And then all of a sudden you're like, whoa, this one feels right. It's a weird thing. I'm not a real spiritual person or anything like that. But it was like, this boat was like, really, hey, we can do this together. I'm like, okay, sure.
That's so cool. I love that.
And so that's what the new owners from Aloha described also.
Yeah.
Cool.
That's awesome. Yay.
Well,
you had on here, just to make the most of your guys' time, as far as making money on the boat or what are you going to lose on the boat, it totally depends on what boat you buy in the beginning and what the economy is when you buy the boat. We got lucky. We bought Aloha on economy in 13, and we just sold it the other day on a really high economy. So we really didn't lose out on the deal. It worked out good for us.
Oh, great. Congrats. That's great.
Yeah, we moved the boat from a low location in the Caribbean to a high location in the South Pacific as far as the value of the boats. The same boat will have different values depending on where it's at in the world.
Oh, gotcha. Depending on probably supply and demand of that particular model, I guess, huh?
Correct. Yes, and then just the area, like Panama's a great place to buy boats.
Oh, Mexico.
Mexico's a great place to buy a boat. Horrible place to try to sell it because no one wants to go all the way down there to look at them.
Right.
So
yeah,
you can get a good deal there and bring it to someplace else.
That's great advice. I'll start my searches there. Yeah. Cool. Well, hey, we really appreciate we're coming up on an hour, and I don't want to hold you longer than we committed, and we really, really appreciate this. Thank you so much. You're just such wonderful people, and thank you enormously from the bottom of our heart for sharing all this. This is like such vital and valuable information. Really appreciate it.
And you pushed the Pacific, so I'm pumped.
We're going, I guess. We'll see you there.
Oh, yeah. It's the best.
We're not in a big hurry,
Yeah.
so it's no big deal on that. Or if you want to talk more later, if you email us, we like to promote it because it was definitely the best part of our lives
best time.
by far.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
It's a really amazing experience to get to do it.
Yeah. Do it earlier than later. All the old cruises there said always, you did it right, because we are like I'm in my late 30s and Jack is starting 40. And they always said, hey, you're doing it right, because the dream changes. You have a dream, and in 10 years or so it's different. It feels different. It's also different because of your physics or just the personality. It's not the same. And we are always nearly in awe, I would say, how all the retirees did it, in that age, because it's physically some work to do when you're sailing.
Yeah. Our little catch is we're both parents, so my daughter's in college, but his boys are high school, so we're
trying to figure that one out. That's why we were thinking of possibly doing the Mediterranean for a summer and get our feel, and then kind of do it like seasonally a little bit here and there, so we could still work that out until the kids are actually off to college, and then we could probably do it full time. So we're trying to balance that out right now and try to figure out the right opportune time to go. But we agree with you completely, and that's why I've been like so focused on it lately, because I don't want to get to that point in life where my body is crumbling. It's already crumbling. So I'm 45, so I definitely want to do it before I get old and decrepit.
Yeah, for sure. That's make the most of it as soon as you can, and then as far as the kids, a lot of times you can kind of integrate them into the system,
right?
And obviously, depending on the kids, they'll get a huge kick out of it.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking, was what a great experience would be for them to sail the Mediterranean with us in the summer, so they could get that broad, breadth of knowledge. Like, I spent several years in Germany working there, and it was such a eye-opening, just experience for me, and I learned so much about the world, and I think that it would be great for my kids to do that. I think that would be great if they spent a summer just cruising around the Mediterranean and learning all the cultures that are there.
Totally agree. That would be awesome.
Absolutely, yeah. It just opens up your horizon of it's like for the world and everything. I think we feel like we have learned a lot in the last years just about the different cultures and the different ways to live.
Yeah.
It gives you a different perspective of life.
Absolutely. 100% agree.
And my daughter's studying nutrition and medicine. I can't think of a better education than tooling around and seeing other cultures and yeah.
Oh, yeah, no, and for kids, we see so many boats with teenagers and little kids and even babies cruising around.
You won't see that on our boat. I promise you that.
No babies with us. Well, hey guys, I really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much, and thank you for offering that we can email you. That would be just fantastic. I'd love to just get more and more information and just build my knowledge base so we feel comfortable with it. So. Thank you so much, and hopefully enjoy the rest of your day and week and month and everything.
Thank you. Yeah, you're very welcome. Yeah. And if you want to do another session also and just talk to us, just let us know. We're free. We're just house sitting here in Tasmania don't really have much to do other than hiking and planning our future.
Beautiful.
Nice. That's so wonderful. Thank you. Okay, bye-bye then.
Aloha.
Aloha.
Bye. Thank you. Bye.
What's this?
They're adorable. I love them.
I'm going to shut that down.
Yeah, sure.
Oh, that's so great. They are awesome. I think a lot of cruisers are like that. Bye. First episode. In the books.
I know. We learned a lot.
Yeah. A whole hour and